Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We are so excited today. Our guest speaker in the C-Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council is our very own esteemed faculty member, Deb Krier. And today we get the great privilege to highlight Deb and to talk about her journey and what it means for us on how to turn adversity into positive change and to create powerful communities around topics that are important to you, because community engagement involvement is now more important than ever before. And so I'll do a proper introduction of Deb in a moment, but I'm Kathleen Caldwell, founder of C-Suite Network's Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a founding member of our beautiful council, and also a very, very long time C-Suite Network member. And I'm so delighted to do that. One of my joys of life is to bring together powerful women to showcase, highlight them, promote them, and also something new that we're starting with our Gent Alliance, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But we always love to just take a moment and let you know about the incredible programs we've been hosting featuring our esteemed faculty members. Carol Kammer talked about LinkedIn. We talked about how to step into your trusted advisor, coach, consultant role. We've got programs every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We've talked about how to do challenges, how to become the category of one coach consultant. Les Luckett talked about how to amplify the power of your voice. Really powerful program. Sheila Anderson and Kathy Dirksen talked about reinvention success strategies, a great program. Christina DiGiacomo, how to use AI, next level tools for trailblazers. And thank you again to Sheila Anderson, talking about perseverance, and what a testimony, Sheila, to who you are and what you do in the world. So thank you very much. So turning the program over to Deb Krier, I have had the great privilege to know Deb and be very, very connected to Deb, gosh, through so many wonderful communities, probably for now 3.5, going on 4 years. And I want to tell you, Deb is a bright light in the world. And she is committed to having her journey, which you'll hear about in just a moment, be inspirational to others, to be an inspiration in the world. And she's then used her journey, which she'll talk about and share with us, to create a global community, tryingnottodie.LIVE. And so to bring together people that have been impacted by cancer. And we know, everyone in the world knows someone who has been impacted by cancer. And she is on a mission to transform the conversation, bring transformation into healthcare and to the workplace. And so with that, and of course, founder of the Business Power Hour podcast, going on very close to 1,000 episodes. Stay tuned for that celebration. But that's a podcast hosted by C-Suite Radio. So with that, Deb, let me turn the program over to you. Let's all give Deb Krier a very warm C-Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council welcome. Thank you.
Oh my
Yay.
gosh. This is so much fun. And thank you, Kathleen, for everything that you have done for me through the years. And I'm going to be brutally honest, nothing would have happened without you. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about is, getting people in your corner when you're ready to do something like this. My journey was rather bumpy, just to say the least. And I'm just going to do a quick highlight of it because it really is pretty long and complicated. But back in 2015, I went for my annual physical, discovered that through a couple different procedures, I had breast cancer. We weren't terribly worried about it. It seemed like it was in the early stages. Now, way back, if we put on that way back machine, I worked for the American Cancer Society and I worked for an oncologist. So I tell people I know just enough to be dangerous about all of this, right? You start saying those words and I know what they mean. So, we're going merrily along, had a couple visits with the surgeon. She wasn't too overexcited. And then we actually did some of the more detailed tests. And at that point, we discovered that my cancer had spread. So it was time to really kick into action. The oncologist, I went into, finally went to see her. I, had dealt with this for several months without even seeing an oncologist because nobody said I needed to. But, met with her, and we decided that I would go, and this was totally my decision. And this is part of this, is if anytime you are going through something like this, it is your decision how you are going to proceed. So I chose to go with the traditional approach of chemotherapy, surgery, radiation. Others are going to do something totally different, and we need to honor that with them. So whatever they choose for whatever type of situation they're dealing with, we as women have got to support that. How can we support them in those decisions? So had my chemo, had the first round, and to put it nicely, it darn near killed me. Chemo is very hard on your body, but I developed a complication that happens less than 1% of the time. And for those of you who don't know me, I always have to be special. And so, I developed this complication, came within hours, literally hours of passing away. The doctors were arguing over how fast I was going to die that day. And so obviously I ignored them because I do remember thinking, wait a minute, I get to vote. This is part my decision also. And so, went through all the trials and tribulations with that. And, then had my surgery, had a complication from it that the surgeon had never seen because, again, special child here. And then kind of went into, back to real life. Now, life has changed. One of the issues that I had was I did go into septic shock. That is, the vast majority of the time that is fatal. And it is something that the issues that it caused, I will deal with for the rest of my life. But, I'm still here. As I tell people, I'm not looking up at 6 feet of dirt. So, I'm a little bit harder to get rid of than fate or whoever thought I, it was going to be. Had my radiation, sailed through it, which was really kind of surprising considering my skin complexion, because a lot of people develop some pretty severe burns. But yeah, I had nothing, but just kind of went merrily along but got back to doing business, right? And that's one of the things that when you're going through something like this, I think so many people forget that we need to focus our brains on something besides, oh, poor pitiful me. And work for me was that. And so I worked as much as I possibly could. There were times where I would be in the hospital and my clients would never know it because hospitals have really good Wi-Fi, and so do doctors' offices. And so I just kept working that entire time. But one of the things that I had decided was, okay, it's time to kick my business into the next level. And so I started working with Kathleen with her Women's Success Accelerator. That was going very well. I love that group, highly recommend it. But it was Kathleen who at one point said, you didn't go through everything you went through without using it to help others. And I very distinctly remember telling her, no, I don't want to be cancer girl. No, I want to forget that as much as I can. Right. But, thinking about it, I thought, she's right. I was given this not ordeal, not tribulation, might even be a blessing, so that I could help others. And it's funny, one of the things that somebody told me right when I first started it was they sent me a saying, and it says, fate whispers to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. And the warrior responds, I am the storm. And I think we as women have got to always remember that we are that storm. We are that warrior. So I decided, okay, let's do this. Talked with Kathleen, talked with several others. And then one of the things that I decided was, and like Kathleen said, I have this podcast and we talk a lot in there about, is it a business or is it a hobby? And hobbies are great, but I made the decision it's a business. Now, it is part of my business, but I was not going to treat it as a hobby. So I had to make an investment in it. And I made a pretty hefty investment. The first step was hiring someone to create the whole brand message, all of that. And I worked with the wonderful Josh Zeppes. We worked for several months before we were actually ready to start proceeding with it. And so, we developed the message, we developed all of those things. And then even though I could do it myself, I hired someone to do the website. And it was really funny because I told her, this is what I want it to be. Yada, 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 yada. She came back with something totally different. And my first thought was, well, that's not what I asked for. But then, of course, the smart brain kicked in and I went, this is better, right? Sometimes we have to realize that, other people have better ideas than we do. And so I loved what Kate came up with, because it is much more dynamic, all those things. But I really did decide, okay, it's, this is going to be real, because part of it was I needed other people to take it seriously. And if I kind of did it, halfway when I wanted then, people would think of it as a hobby. I made that investment. One of the things that we had to decide was, were we going to sell products? And I'll show a little bit of that a little bit later. I did make the decision that for now, it's not going to be a 501c3. That's a fairly complicated process to do a nonprofit. But I may change my mind and do it in the future, or there's some other options that I could do. But for right now, it's just staying part of my regular business. So, it is something that is taking more and more of my time, because it is my passion. I love my company. I love working with my clients, but being cancer girl, if we're going to put it that way, has really, that is where I truly see my passion going. And so that's the thing. And, if you have something in your lives, and I know that all of you do, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be, something that you're doing as big as I am, but, go with it. Go with what makes your heart sing. And, and so that is something that I think is just absolutely critical in this. So, then it was, okay, as I said, it is like a business. And it isn't, I shouldn't say that. It is a business, not like a business, right? And so, there are definitely lessons from it. I think one of the first things was what we all go through. You have to actually start. You have to launch it to the world. You have to tell people, hey, I'm doing this thing. It's never going to be perfect. We wait for it to be perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. And, it's been launched now for almost 3 years, and or 2 years, and we're getting ready to start our third year. It's making changes all the time. This is just something that, like any business, grows and evolves. You add partners, you add things that you're doing, all sorts of things like that. But it is, how do you get it going? And then you do have to actually treat it as a business. You have to promote it. You have to do all sorts of things. Now in my other world, I am a marketing person, so that has made things a little bit easier. But I appear on a lot of podcasts. I favor podcasts. I like podcasts, right? I've been doing it a very long time, but it is something where it is a great way to get your message out there. And there's hundreds of thousands, if not more, podcasts. No matter what you do, you can find podcasts in order to get your message out there. You just kind of have to look. Now, some of them might not have a big audience, but you never know. I always tell people that one person might be listening who you're really going to make a difference. And, hundreds of thousands, we're not the John Dumases of the world. But, if we find those small groups of people, then that builds, and so do things like that. I do speak to groups, whether to help them get through what they're doing. And then I also work with medical groups to show them how to treat us as people and not patients, how to remember that One of the things I tell them is treat me like you want your mother, your sister, your spouse treated, because, and I understand that for our medical care teams who are our superheroes, the stress that they are under is absolutely incredible. And especially when you're dealing with things like chronic illness and things that many people die from. So they do kind of build this hard shell. But how can they remember that we're scared? And one of the things that they do is, like, Deb, how you doing today? I'm fine. We all say that, right? Now that's okay if you're telling that to the person in the elevator or the person at McDonald's. But when a medical person or your friend or your coworker or whoever says, how are you doing? Now you don't have to dump on them, but fine is a 4-letter word, and we need to be thinking about how to be honest with people, because they can't help us if they don't know what's going on. And fine, obviously, is one of those words that covers everything. It covers anything from I can go run a marathon to I'm about to keel over. So we need to be honest. First, we need to be honest with ourselves, right? It's okay to go, I'm not having a good day. I'm just not having a good day. Or to say, today is fantastic. I get to present to this wonderful group of people and I'm having so much fun. So today is a fantastic day. Now, to be honest, I'll probably go take a nap afterwards, right? But that's okay. We need to honor ourselves with that. And I do know that there are limitations that I have, based on, just my physical limitations. And I have to give myself the grace to know it's okay. It's okay to go take that nap. I really wish it was kind of like kindergarten. And when I got up, I could have my graham crackers and milk, but that doesn't happen. And I could do that, right? Why can't we do that? But you do have to be thinking about what's going forward. And of course, one of the most important things is, no matter what we're doing, if it's an initiative like I have started, if it is your business, if it's whatever, we have to build our tribe. I tell people I am the warrior, but no warrior goes it alone. We have to have our tribe, and get the people that are going to help you the most. And some of those people might be the people who go, ooh, really? We don't all need to be cheerleaders. We do need some of the people who might kind of bring us down a little bit, be a little realistic, but that's okay. As long as they're doing it from a position of trust and love, that's perfectly fine. But we are not in this alone. Whether, like I said, whether it's a business, whether it's an initiative, whether it's, whatever it is that we're doing, we need other people around us and supporting us. And one of the things that I have done is we do have a Facebook group. It's a private group. I have kept it private just to keep out the people who are going to cure us, because those people exist. And so, we've got over 200 members. I try and keep it as fun and as upbeat as possible, because we all need that support. But there are times where we need other support. There was one week where one of the members of the Facebook group posted and said, had my checkup, everything is good. And everybody cheered and hoorah. The next day, someone posted and said, I lost my husband overnight. And everybody then gave support to that also. And so it is so important to have that community. And one of the things, and I talk about this a lot, for some reason, when we have cancer and a lot of other times with serious illnesses, we isolate ourselves. We don't want to bother people. I don't want to whine at people. I don't, all of those things. And so we end up being very alone. And it's so important to not do that. Reach out to people, let them know what you need. I think one of the funniest things that I ever did, I had spent a long time again in the hospital, and the doctor had told me, you need to get out and walk. You need fresh air, and you need sunshine, and you need exercise. Well, I was pitiful enough that I was having to use a walker. So I knew, okay, walking by myself was not really going to be smart, because my husband had gone back to work. And so what do? I go to just Facebook in general. So not even the tryingnottodie.LIVE Facebook group. And I said, hey, Atlanta people, I need your help. I need people to come and walk me 15 to 20 minutes once a day, leash provided. And of course, because you approach it with humor, people were like, oh my God, we'll bring our own leash. Or, can we also bring lunch? I mean, there were all sorts of things that people said, but it took an awful lot for me to say I needed help. That really was, I think, one of the hardest things to do is to tell people you need help. We're very independent women, right? And we don't like to tell people we need help, but we do. We are all in this together. And the only way we're going to survive is if we are together. So, that is so important. And I mentioned just a little bit ago that, one of the things that I considered was, would we have products for tryingnottodie.live? And it's a whole funny story about how we came up with the name. But in short, we get so consumed with trying to not die that we forget that we have to live. And that is what is so important with all of this. And I don't care, whether you have a chronic illness or not. Are you living, or are you just subsisting? Right? So, we need to be living every single day. Maybe it's 5 hours, maybe it's 50 years. Who knows? But what are we going to do? So we did decide to have some products because, we have bills that we have to pay. But more importantly, I wanted to provide things that others could provide for people who were undergoing cancer, on their cancer journey. As a show of support. So we have several things that we do, but by far, my absolute favorite is what we call the Bear Hug Care Package. Thank you, Kathleen. She named it. And so, somebody is sent this box. We sent one to Germany not long ago. So now we have these bears everywhere. So you open up the box and there's several really fun little goodies in here. You get a stone. There's chapstick. There's inspirational tattoos that are temporary. Not everybody likes a real tattoo, but they're inspirational tattoos. But of course, the star of the show is this absolutely adorable bear named Warrior. And the idea is, and Kathleen has one, Trisha has one. We love these little bears because they're so soft and fluffy. But the thing is, what we want people to know is they're not alone. You have sent someone a little bear hug that they can keep with them all the time. You can even buy it yourself. That's okay. And we do have some that we can provide to folks who, might not. I've had people who have said, I don't have anybody who will send me one. Breaks your heart, right? So we help those people out. But I had a couple little stuffed animals when I was in the hospital for so long, and they went everywhere with me. Off I'd go to surgery, off I'd go to this, off I'd go to that, and here would go my critters with me. And they actually all made it back. That was kind of the surprising thing. And I know that my husband snuck them home on occasion and cleaned them. But the thing was, I knew when I had those that I was not alone. And again, that's the whole thing with this is, how do you build your community so that you're not alone? I do have another Facebook page that is just for me, where I talk about what's going on. And I remember one time when I was going in for surgery, and it has over 400 people that are part of it. And I was going in for surgery. It was one of those that could be a little bit more risky than some of the others. And I'll tell you what, I now have 3 different cancers, and I'm up to 34 surgical procedures. So this is kind of old hat, but I was in for this surgery, and I very distinctly remember thinking, well, I can't die. All those people will be mad at me. But it really was that community. And I knew that I was not alone, and as business women, as whatever we are doing in our lives, we are not alone. How do we find those tribes? How do we get those those people who are supporting us? And sometimes it's hard. When we're on our own, we might be like I am in one of my guest bedrooms, right? I don't see people every day unless they're here on the screen with me. So you have to make a very conscious effort, but build those tribes who are going to support you. And just make sure that they're the people who are the best to do it. And tribe members come and go. That's what happens in life, right? But yeah, it really is something. Who knows where this initiative will lead? It is continuing to grow. We're continuing to do all sorts of things. I just received an email, Kathleen. I didn't even have a chance to tell you this earlier today from someone who said, "I just sent your information down to Emory University to their teaching program." Woo! Yeah. And so, but as I said, it's not a hobby. It is a business. And so always think of it that way. Think of how you are going to position yourself, what your message is. I read Simon Sinek like everybody else. So my why statement is to empower those dealing with cancer in any way to embrace their inner warrior so that they build a tribe, energize their voices, and expand their choices. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and open it up if anyone has questions.
Well, who is blown away, first of all? My gosh, Deb, so inspiring, so powerful. I have chills. I'm sure each of you do too, that you've taken an experience, a set of experiences, and something that's unique to you, but a common universal need for, hey, I don't want to be alone here. I'm dealing with this. I'm alone. And you then turn this into a global movement. And every day we see you every day building new opportunities, and your message, bringing your message into healthcare, bringing your message into the workplace, bringing your message is taking off. So thank you.
Well,
thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
And I do want to mention real quick, I mentioned that, we have, if somebody doesn't have someone to send them one of the bear hugs, one of the care packages, C-Suite Network has been gracious enough to help us provide some of the bear hugs to people. But yeah, build your tribe. Who are you going to have support you? And sometimes you have to think outside the box, right? But you never know where that support and that help is going to come from.
Deb, your story is so beautifully told by you. It is just fabulous how you embrace what a challenge it was, but at the same time find the courage to move forward and tackle things that you didn't think you wanted to. It's great to hear. It reminds me much because both my great aunt and my mother both went through breast cancer and other issues with cancer. And like you, my mom said, if it's going to be odd and unusual, it's going to be mine. And so that very much reminded me of things she would say. And one of the things I remember her talking about was, I'd like to be with people, but I'm tired of them looking at me like, oh, poor pitiful me. They want to be seen as the human they are, right, not the disease. And it is so powerful to share those normal moments, normal things, whether it is, like you said, somebody coming to do a walk with you, maybe it's playing a game with you, or just having coffee with you to talk about something other than the disease.
Right.
It can be so incredibly powerful for somebody to be seen for who they are, not what they were experiencing.
Right. Yeah.
And
I am
for
far more than
up.
just being a cancer patient.
Exactly. And I so know why you said, I don't want to be known as Cancer Girl, because you are so much more than the disease that you have conquered in many ways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Deb, also coming over to Trisha as well, is you are also such an advocate, Deb, for helping people who have, while many of us, we've been impacted with loved ones and friends and coworkers, colleagues, we don't necessarily know how to traverse the language and all of that. And so you being an advocate for us too, and really for the world about how to talk about things with your newsletter. Your newsletter is so fantastic. And so, we'll make sure when we do the replay that we give you, some give you some visibility on your newsletter. It's fantastic. how do people, especially in a work environment, how do we broach the subject? You
Right.
know, a coworker, colleague is gone for a while, and how do we
Right.
do all that?
Yeah.
You can help us.
Yeah, it is definitely a challenge in the workplace. One of the things is many people don't even want to tell anyone what's happening because they might lose clients, they might lose their job. And so and there's federal and state laws that pertain. If you are the boss, the HR person, whoever, it's not like you can say, "Hey, Kathleen, what's going on?" I mean, but and especially if you choose not to say, or you could say, "Here is what's going on," but you can't tell anyone else, and then they can't disclose that. So all of a sudden, people are like, "Well, how come Kathleen gets to go home at 3 o'clock every day?" And it might not be you; it might be your spouse, your child, whoever. But yeah, they can't disclose things like that, and it does become a challenge in the workplace because many states anymore are right to work states, and so they can fire you, and they're certainly not going to say we're firing you because you have cancer, but they could say we're firing you because you're not getting the job done, and that very well may happen. But we do want to continue working. We might have to, we might need that insurance and things like that. But it was like I said, we need to keep our minds going and think of something that is there. I was very fortunate with my clients. I chose to tell them because there are times where I just kind of drop off the face of the earth. And they said, not, in a loving way, well, maybe you should just go focus on it, because sometimes they might do that. Or sometimes they might go, well, you can't do the job, so we're going to get somebody else. My client said, what can we do to help? And those are the people that, right, that's your tribe. You bring those people back in.
Thank you. Thank you. Tricia, you were jumping in as well. And thank you to C-Suite Network for your support and sponsorship of Trying Not to Die.LIVE and Deb Krier and her whole movement. Thank you.
This is so exciting, and I've just been speaking about this recently. And Deb, I pulled up the pictures of the teddy bear because I took them to socially activate, but I've been on the road nonstop. And
I know,
anyway,
poor little
so
bear didn't even get opened for a while.
I finally got. I know I wasn't home to open them, but I just got that off to my social team. I've just been saying recently, as our network continues to expand and expand and expand, I'm now at the point where I always have many people that I'm monitoring with cancer and other major issues, diseases and so on. And it's a lot, it's so challenging. And like everyone here, I love these people. Like, I am just so heartbroken and stressed about where they are with things. And so, how to navigate that line of every single conversation. The very first thing I want to say is, how are you?
Right.
Like, what's the latest report? What's going on? And I'm resisting. I'm resisting doing that because there are several where I know it's a long game, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on how, when there's people we love that we don't get to know what's going on all the time, how best to support. I mean, even, there's one I was thinking about, if, even just to acknowledge it is sort of a negative, I would think, for him. And, it's sort of, it's just so challenging.
Right.
What are your thoughts
and not
on all of
everybody
that?
is as open as I am, right? I still have treatment every 21 days. And so I post pictures of me in the infusion room, right? But yeah, so many people don't want to talk about it. I think one of the first things is, it is the elephant in the room. And many times I feel like people are ignoring it and trying to act like it's not there. So you can do something just as simple as, how you doing? Then they can choose how much further they want to carry it. More than likely, they're going to say fine, right? Or, I tell people hunky dory. That's kind of my thing. But, just they need to know that you're there. And that's what you just said is exactly one of the questions I get the most, is we don't know what to do. So then they don't do anything. And then we assume they don't love us. You don't care. And so I tell people, Hallmark has cards. There's all sorts of things. Don't, some people jumped in and they meant well. And I love them to pieces for it, but like they sent meals. Okay, that was great, but I couldn't eat them. But my husband could. He thought that was fantastic, and we didn't have to worry about him eating. And so, but maybe instead of sending the meals, you send a gift card to Grubhub or one of those things. So then people can pick what they want. I had people who I just wanted them to come and sit with me. But then they also needed to understand that I needed them to not stay forever. And so, but I always tell people, be specific. Just don't say, hey, let me know if you can do something. Because our brains are so busy doing everything else that we're having to deal with that I can't stop and think of, hey, I need you to come take me for a walk, right? So what you want to say is, can we have a meal delivered on Thursday? Can I take your kids to a movie? We had somebody who knew, what we do. And they said, do your dogs need to go to the vet? And by darn, they did. And so that was just so funny. But yeah, be specific, because then we can say yes or no. I might say, okay, dinner on Thursday wouldn't work, but could you bring dinner on Saturday? Things like that. And so the more specific you can be, the better it is, because, but then we, as the person who is dealing with this chronic condition, we have to be honest too, to say, I need somebody to go grocery store for me, during when I actually got COVID, yay. And what they were concerned about with me was my oxygen level. So I needed one of those little pulse oximeter things. And, so, but, I couldn't go. My husband couldn't go. He was quarantining also. So I text my neighbors, hey, can you go get this for me? I'll pay you back. And of course, there it was out on my doorstep. And so, and could I have ordered it through Amazon? Sure. But, we also need to remember that other people like helping others. So let's give them that opportunity to do that, but also understand sometimes they can't deal with it. And so give them the grace to know that, they might do something different. And just because they're not there doesn't mean they don't care.
Yeah. So okay. So thank you for that, Deb. It's sort of like be respectful, don't take over, offer support as you can, and honestly, don't be precious or tender about what the answer is. One way or another, it just matters that you're showing up. The other piece of what you were sharing that I think is so important, and I'd love for you just to share just a little bit more. You talked about this as a business. And so, my belief, and certainly the whole platform and mission of C-Suite, is seeing great leaders succeed, right? So with a great sustainable business model comes great impact, and that circle, ideally infinity of the continued scaling, and then high tide raises all boats. So I'm curious how you are thinking about your business model, because obviously this mission is so critical. It touches everyone in the world. And so I'm just curious how you are thinking about your business model and making sure that you're able to make it sustainable for you to be able to do it, to have the impact you want to have.
Well, for me, the big thing is it needs to go slow, because things happen. I had surgery back in July and I was out of commission for over a week. Do I want lots of people in the Facebook group? Yes. But I also like knowing everybody who's there. So then I know when to ask them what's going on. Yeah. Thousands of people can go and read the blog posts, things like that. But, how do you keep it personal? And obviously it's different for every single person, and it's just like a business. I mean, some small businesses, if they have 10 clients, those are the perfect 10 clients, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Others want 10,000, and that works for them. So as you said, you need to develop that sustainability business model. Think about exactly how you're going to be doing everything. And then, go forward with that. Are there bumps? Sure. There's bumps like in every type of business. Am I selling as many bears as I would like? No. Am I putting as much effort into it as I should? That's probably a no also. And so, it's just kind of one of those things where it is, we do have to just keep going with it, but do it at the speed that is right for you.
Yeah, so interesting. A thought that just occurred to me when you said I'm probably not going as fast as I should, is Dina Simon, that model of Simon Says, where children are really actively involved. That would be a really easy way for me to be able to buy bears for people, where if I bought it, I think it would, I worry if my daughters gave, I'll give a specific example, Bill Wallace, right? We all know and love Bill Wallace. If my children sent him a bear, I think he would just take that as such a uplifting thing. If I gave him a bear, I'd be worried he might think that I'm worried about him more than he wants me to be worried.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
knowing
And,
Bill,
Well,
But our council can give him, we'll send him a bear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's put that down. We'll
Right.
sponsor one to do that
and
for him.
and of course it is a little bit more tricky, male and female, right?
Yeah.
Men are the stoic, I don't want to talk about it type of things. But we have sent some bears to guys and they love them.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jeffrey posted pictures with his bear. And so I think that's the thing, is sometimes we assume that they don't want it, but they will. And he might look at it and go, she sent me a bear. Why did she send me a bear? And then they go, hey, this is going to be, the toy for the dog. I know Susan has been very patiently waiting.
One of the things when Tricia was talking about being cautious with people not wanting to share, I had a friend, literally, when many of us were concerned about her health, she eventually told me, and I said, but I know so-and-so has been asking you and she hasn't heard from you. And she goes, but I know she will take this much harder and it will be a tougher discussion with her I'm not prepared for. At that point, I could say, would you like me to talk to her about it, so that you do not have to endure that conversation and her angst? And know that she is not going to give up until she knows about this, because she is that close a friend. Sometimes we have to appoint somebody to be not necessarily our advocate, but maybe our point person for conversations within a group, so that the person who is fighting what they're fighting has the energy to do so and doesn't feel that they have to answer 90 questions.
Definitely. I love that.
Knowing who you should ask to play that role for you becomes crucial, because you know they will still hold tight on keeping it within the group you want it shared with, but also making sure that that group is available to support you in ways that they can.
Oh, I love that.
So Deb, let's wrap up with, and of course, I would love, how about an acknowledgement and an appreciation of Deb Krier, so that you can leave this. We're going to leave always on a positive, uplifting moment, and a call to action, of course, Deb. So Deb, tell us our call to action. What do we do next?
So go to tryingnottodie.live. That is the website URL. So tryingnottodie.live. You'll find all sorts of things there. You will find the bear hug. You will find our blog posts, and love to get comments. Also, if you have something you would like to post about, maybe you would like to be an author of a post. Love that. Love getting posts from somebody else. There is the link there for the Facebook group. So feel free to join that. Just because you're not on this journey doesn't mean you won't like the inspirational messages that we post or the information, and so feel free to do that. I hope that many of the people who are part of the group aren't affected by cancer, right? But yeah, so go to the Facebook group and just, think about, more importantly, is there something that you are passionate about? What would you want to do? And maybe it's build houses for the needy. Maybe it's reading to cats. There's a program here in Georgia that does that. Things like what really is something that you are passionate about, that you might want to take on as your advocacy project.
Beautiful. So with that, overcoming adversity
Mhm.
and creating positive communities out of our life experience. So yeah. So with that, any final words of appreciation, acknowledgement, and we'll have a wrap here from such a
Well,
powerful
as
program.
always, thank you to all of you. And especially to C-Suite Network, to Trisha, to Kathleen. Like I said, this would not have happened without Kathleen. And I want to give a shout out, Sheila posted about this, to our caregivers, right? They are our superheroes. We could not do it without them. And so big shout out to the people who are caring for us, because they have really the hardest job of it all. But yeah, everybody just keep going.
That's right.
That's the thing. Just keep going. Might be little steps, but keep going.
Ordering another one
Beautiful.
right now.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
Deb, I appreciated at the beginning when you said you were going through cancer, right? I think that's a powerful word, that you were going through it. You weren't stuck on it. You weren't stopped. You know you were going to get through it. So there was light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that was a really powerful statement and something to think about.
Thank you.
And Sheila, we can always count on you to be so listening for all of the nuggets and the nuances. Thank you for bringing your beautiful special sparkle to our call too. Thank you. Great. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Trisha. Thank you, Deb. We are so excited about this replay going global and the ripple effect is going to be huge. So with that, check c-suitenetwork.com, c-suitenetwork.com for our calendar. We've got so many great upcoming programs. We're also featuring Trisha Ben in an Ask the CEO program. So we're excited to be promoting that very soon, and our Gent program next week. So with that, bye for now, everyone. Lots of love to you, and let's help spread the word, tryingnottodie.LIVE and more. Bye. Love to you. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you.